Can you hear me? Perfect. So this is the one you wanted to talk about, Dimitri? This is like a perfect setup right here. Yeah, this one was absolutely perfect. So now we just got to be on the lookout for these guys. Any sort of false break we get would be. These look exciting. These look really exciting. So it looks like Connor's double bottom here is playing out. Good analysis, Connor. You called it. You called the double bottom. Very nice work. Very nice. So yeah, it looks like we're gonna get some dollar strength. The weekly chart looks pretty good. That low test double bottom, nice bullish engulfing to give us confirmation. It looks good. It looks good. It's pretty reassuring to see that we got this head and shoulder pattern here, and the momentum just stopped, completely stopped. So I don't see too many bears here. So U.S. dollar looks pretty good going for the week ahead. Let's look at the monthly real quick just to see. So this looks like we could get some at least some monthly momentum, at least to test the highs on the conservative end. But I like it. I think it looks good. It looks like the bullish momentum is returning. Price could die out here and form another lower high, but I don't think it's going to happen. It looks pretty confirmed to me. This just looks like a false breakout that formed that low test. I like it. Well, that's the beauty is that what we have in our arsenal now is basically these break and retests. And so many times price will come up and do these and it'll invalidate our trades for the break and retests, especially when like the 1 hour or the 4 hour both converge, because those are really good trades. But when price does this, it kind of leaves us sitting for price to break back down and then retest again. But if we start employing these APLs, then we can take advantage of these nice trades. Well, this one isn't a nice example, but the good break and retest plays, and we can start taking advantage of plays like this. So we're just adding more stuff to our arsenal so that we can start taking advantage and start capturing a lot more trades. So US dollar looks good. I like US dollar. It looks like USD strength is coming in. Let's let's take a look at US oil too real quick. So US oil, this looks like a false breakout, or this looks like a this still looks bullish to me. Let's say that. This still looks very bullish to me. It's still making higher highs, higher lows. This is a huge breakout. Like the daily wasn't even considered. It just blew right through it. So that looks pretty positive. So CAD should probably be powering up too. Dollar CAD is kind of questionable just because you're playing the strong versus the strong, and I think that's what gave us this consolidation here. Is they're just kind of battling each other back and forth. So that would be one downside. Let's talk about let's start at the top actually. Let's start with Aussie Swiss. Aussie Swiss weekly chart ended with a pretty bearish inside bar. So price was not able to move any further to the upside after this nice weekly rejection. This was a nice rejection of the weekly. Ended with a bullish, but we got an inside bar. So something's going on. There's no, and now we're breaking down. We do have a lower high, so we have lower high, lower low, lower high, or lower low, lower high. And it looks like we're going to continue to break down. This looks like profit taking to me just to end the day. 4-hour chart. So it looks like a lot of the Aussie pairs gave us these APL moves here, where we got these false breakouts. And the cool thing about these is the stop protection on these is pretty awesome. So, I mean, even putting it there, and then when this one comes in, you don't even have to worry. These stops are so secure, so they should put ease to any emotions, because they are big stops. But all you need is one of these a week. If you can get one of these APL moves a week, that's 2% a week. That's 8% a month. That's freaking killing it. That's killing it. And then if you were to scale in, like on this one, and take that one down with it, killing it. So employing this new strategy is going to be imperative. I really want to see this start making some good returns. But I like this for next week. I can see the bearish potential here. I don't see any immediate play right now. This is some deceleration, potential double bottom. Like I said, it could be profit taking, but at this point, we'll see what happens. Maybe we'll get another little false break before price decides to crash back down, and we can take advantage of it. But no short, at least to the trend line here. Trend line is not the greatest trend line. It's kind of the extremes of all the lows. But I feel confident taking it down to at least this level here, where these previous lows were, and that's about where the trend line will be. So I like Aussie Swiss. I'll add that to the weekly watch to take down to the bottom of the trend line. Let's look at our best friend Aussie Yen. Aussie Yen will hopefully pull back sometime. Maybe it never will pull back. Who the friggin' knows? This thing's just been out of control. So it looks like the yen pairs are starting to decelerate a little bit. Aussie's just so weak that it can't. It's struggling to even decelerate. So price is starting to come back up. I guess this is a position I had on the watch that I didn't take advantage of, but played out nicely. So this is another example of an APL move that could have been employed. That would have been this technically would have been the first APL move after the bearish confirmation here. And getting in early on these ones you could potentially extend at least down to the weekly. Yeah, at least down to this weekly, you could have extended that. Because it's the very first one, and it's right there at the daily also. I wasn't paying attention to this one, and it looks like I missed out on a really good trade. But I love the potential of this new strategy. And look how well the stop is. As soon as price breaks below this, not a chance of even coming back. I love it. It's really, really funneling the momentum. You're getting in after the momentum is confirmed. It just looks fantastic. I really like it. At this point, I don't know if I'm going to put this on the weekly watch, to be honest, just because we are sitting at the weekly level. It does look like the yen pairs are starting to decelerate a little bit and beginning pullbacks. So because of that, I wouldn't really be looking for too many short positions. Maybe later on in the week we'll get another 4-hour false break retesting this level. That'd be pretty cool. But at this point, I'm not really looking for too much on this pair. It's been running to the downside quite significantly. So not my main focus for this week. Would you not have taken a trade on the first 4 hour break before that top? Let's look. I mean, like up here? Technically, I would just put a freaking blue box over all of this. And it seems like that happens a lot. Once you start getting to these key levels, that's one thing that's really interesting when just before it made that daily high. Oh, I see what you're saying. Actually, yeah, this would have been a false one, and you would have got stopped out. Good catch, good catch. Yes, this absolutely would have been your first entry, and it would have lost. And it had good confirmation too. These, so this is one thing that my girlfriend noticed. She did some extensive back testing on this strategy. She's actually done more than I have. But these initial first positions are the riskiest. They are. There was another good one. I want to say it was pound kiwi back in 2014. Yeah. So these first. So this was a nice trend line break here. Came back to retest, but this initial one you would have gotten stopped out on. It's that very first one that's kind of sketchy, but the subsequent ones usually seem to work out because that's when the momentum is pretty much confirmed. But that very first one is definitely a riskier one, and that's something that we have noticed through the back testing. That the first one, like this was a nice bullish higher high here that came back down. So you would have gotten in here, and these wicks down here and all this would have eventually stopped you out. So the first ones are definitely the riskiest, and you can see with the second one would have played out, or it looks like it would have played out. Yeah, so the second one would have played out. So the first one is definitely a little riskier, but sometimes it works out, and sometimes you can catch that initial move and hold it for quite a while. Like this, actually that wouldn't have counted. This would have counted right here. So this initial move here would have been fine. It's just the probability on those very first two are the trickiest. But you can see even after price comes up, those stops right above, so the stops right above here usually play out with such good protection. Even if price comes up and forms a double top or a double bottom, you're usually well protected for those. It seems like whenever you get these double ones, this hasn't been back tested, so don't attempt this before doing some back testing yourself. But it seems like whenever you get these doubles that form, these doubles really close, the initial break is usually pretty strong, and the potential for stop clipping to bring your stop down a little tighter is there. It hasn't been back tested enough to really know how much you can clip the stop, but I like that the momentum is really comes in after you get this double here. But yeah, so let's go back to Aussie Yen. Aussie Yen, I'm not gonna add to the weekly watch. I think it's the first time in 6 weeks or something that it's not on the weekly watch. Let's have a look at Aussie CAD. So the double top on Aussie CAD is pretty much confirmed now. It looks like there could be some sort of level in this area somewhere. With CAD powering up and with Aussie being as weak as it is, this thing, I mean, look at the momentum here. If this doesn't look like it's starting to decelerate around anything, this looks like it's just continuing to go. So let's look at the daily. Daily has fantastic momentum. It went sideways for a couple of days, but now the momentum has really kicked in. Hey, what up, Scott? And now we've broken below the daily here. So this actually looks good, at least to take down to the weekly 50. And even the weekly 50 hasn't been too well respected in the past. It looks kind of awful, actually. It was respected back here, but recently it's just not doing much. So I like Aussie CAD. I'll add that to the weekly watch for sure. Let's look at the 4 hour. So the 4 hour gave us that nice false break, head and shoulder pattern here. These I don't like, and this is why I wanted to point out that these are more of a retest to me. Just because if you try to get in on these ones, I mean, your stop is going to be just a few pips, and it just doesn't offer enough protection. I like when you get these quite larger ones because it takes a lot of long orders to push it up this high. So as soon as those long orders, the stops get triggered, like right around this level, you can see the momentum just, and then again, once those stops are taken out, it just keeps going. So these bigger plays here seem to have the most momentum just because there's so much that needs to be reversed, and once those stops get hit, it's just a domino effect. So I like this one. We're going to need quite a substantial pullback to allow any sort of entry on this. But it still offers a lot of potential to me. The weekly 50 is still down here, and like I said, it has been well respected. Oh, the high test right here, the 4 hour high test right at the other side of the trend line. Low test. This one? This one? This one? Oh, this one. No. This one? This one. This one is what you're talking about. Okay. Okay, so what about this low test here? Triggered on this low test? Absolutely. But you'd still be safe. Because your stop would still be above the previous highs. Because because I'm looking at this as trend change. And you got to consider the other factors too. We have a weekly double top. We have had this nice break of the phase line here. and this gave a high test candle on the daily chart. So the breakdown didn't happen until the next day. So you would be looking for, I would be looking for, this was actually a pretty decent head and shoulder pattern here. Yeah, I mean, we're still going to do the same analysis we would with any other strategy. We're still applying all of our multi-time frame analysis. We're making sure we have trend change. We're still doing all of those things. We're definitely, this is not a mechanical strategy at all. We're still very discretionary with this. But this was a good indication. If you saw this breakdown below and you saw price start to go up, once you saw this 4-hour high test, this would have been pretty good to potentially take back down low. It's going to be quite a transition to start looking for these, to start, I guess, getting excited when price starts to break back above the 4-hour when you're thinking it's going the other way. Oh yeah, I'm surprised too. Nice setup, Scott. Looks good. Looks good. All right, so this one, and just think, the more we look at stuff, the more strategies we'll invent and pick up on. And Matt already had an idea about doing the 4-hour 20. He said that worked pretty well. So this is very adaptable to make work in whatever way possible. Just make sure you back test it a bunch. So Aussie Cat I like. We're gonna need some sort of pullback before we can get in, but it has a lot of momentum in my opinion. Let's take a look at Aussie Kiwi. So it looks like Aussie Kiwi is still continuing to pull back after this breakout higher high. Last week ended pretty bearish, and that's pretty interesting. It's still right below. Still a pretty shallow retrace. I don't know if this is profit taking. Let's look at the 4-hour. I guess it's still kind of early to tell. Here's another example of an APL move that would have played out perfectly. Yeah, I'm not too. I mean, this is still a lower low. We're still lower high, lower low. We could come up and form another lower high in this vicinity. We'll have to see what happens when it reacts to the 4-hour EMA. This does look like it's still pretty bearish. This is quite a big wick. I'm gonna not put it on the weekly watch just because of where it's sitting. This could just be a bull trap, but I need to see more. The 4-hour chart's pretty overextended. This could come back down to this level, but at this point, it's a wait and see. Maybe we'll get a false break around this level here, and maybe we can take it down. At this point, I'm not too sure. Aussie dollar. That's pretty good confirmation right there. So that's pretty good confirmation. Finally, we get some sort of direction. So at this point, I'm pretty convinced it'll at least test these previous lows here. This looks like a ton of momentum. Dollar looks to be strong. Aussie seems to be weak. This looks pretty darn good in my opinion. So Aussie dollar is definitely on the weekly watch. Very nice breakdown here. Hopefully we'll get some sort of pullback. I mean, we have our confirmation. We have our lower high here. This is as soon as this closes or opens and closes tomorrow, we should get another lower low here. Market just happened to close here, which is looking like a double bottom, but I don't believe it at all. 4-hour chart. So this one's kind of tricky. So this one would have been, if you took it as like an APL move, this wouldn't have been enough for me. I mean, we still have to apply discretion here. So once I saw price start breaking above here and potentially forming a lower high, you can probably draw a nice fib here. So you're right at the 50% retracement. This could have been a good potential APL move. I haven't tested the dollar pairs too much. I think the only dollar pair I have tested is dollar yen in just a limited capacity. But it seems like the dollar pairs don't provide too many of these false break plays. It seems like a lot of them are kind of just like this, where they don't really come close. And the same thing, it doesn't really come close. So maybe the 20 EMA will allow to capture more moves on pairs that don't really hug the 4-hour too much or give these false breaks. Maybe the 20 will give more false breaks. So that would be something to look into. Did you take that, Dimitri? Did you? I mean, this is a nice triple top. Very nice, very nice. 16 pip stop, that's tight. That's good. Very nice play. That was a lot of deceleration. That was around here, I'm assuming. We had like quad tweezers here. Very nice trade. Very nice trade. Is it closed or you still have it open? And if you do still have it open, closed, nice. That would have been a nice one to take all the way down. But that's a great trade. 3.5% is phenomenal. That is a very nice return. Very nice. So Aussie dollar looks great. We're just going to need some sort of pullback so we can take advantage. But it looks extremely bearish. Let's take a look at CAD Yen. So CAD Yen's looking like it could potentially form some sort of tweezer. It is below the weekly, which isn't too great. I think this is still, I hate going off of this wick here, but we're right around the 50% retracement. Let's see if we have any bullish price action. At this point, we don't really have any bullish price action. We have this potential bottom here. This is deceleration. This is all sideways. This is, I'll definitely put a blue box. Around all of this. So maybe once we get a break above, maybe we'll have some confirmation that this is going to go bullish. We definitely have some sort of bottom here, and you can see all the long orders that got triggered. So something's going on here. So it'll be interesting to see how market opens. But I did get burned on dollar yen for trying to trade it after this. So we'll have to wait and see. These yen pairs look like they could start pulling back, but it's a little too soon to tell at this point. So this one I wouldn't really keep on the weekly watch, just because it's not really presenting anything yet. If this were like a bullish engulfing, then I would add it to the weekly, but at this point we're still kind of just sitting in this consolidation right here of sideways action. What up, Matt? You didn't miss much. We're still getting started here. So let's look at CAD Swiss. So CAD Swiss, this one was a bummer. This one was a bummer. So CAD Swiss, we had this nice weekly bullish engulfing last week. It looks like this pair was just going to really take off. And the daily chart formed this nice low here. Nice low test candle right around this 382, 50% rejection. The 4-hour chart gave a beautiful APL move. But this was one of the first APL moves I took. And because there wasn't too much confirmation on this, I'm going to be totally honest. I moved my stop straight to break even and got taken out right here. I was not 100% confident in the APL stuff when I took this position, especially this early on, where this is just the very beginning of trend change here. But it looks like it would have played out nicely, and I'm kind of kicking myself for closing that one. Ooh, and actually would have just missed hitting the target already. So this one's looking good. We have a confirmed higher high now. We have a confirmed higher low. We are still kind of rejecting here, but I'm pretty confident that once Sunday opens, we'll either get a little retrace and move back up. But CAD's looking pretty strong. I don't really have a bias on Swiss as of yet. I don't think we've gone over too many Swiss pairs. We went over Aussie Swiss, but don't really have a bias on Swiss yet. But this looks like it has the potential to at least come back up and at least test these highs up here. Looks like this is a nice bottom level. The weekly momentum looked really good. And as soon as we got that retrace, I mean, this is all wick. So there was a lot of long orders that were triggered here. So I can see this going higher. I will definitely add this to the weekly watch. This looks like it has some pretty good potential. Maybe on the 4-hour chart, we'll get another pullback and potentially another false break. This actually would have been a nice false break also. This one probably would have closed already. Yeah, that one would have closed. But I like this for next week. I like this a lot. Swiss has been weak. Well, yeah, this should be a good play then. This should be a pretty decent trade. So I like CAD Swiss. CAD Swiss looks pretty good. Let's take a look at Euro Aussie. This makes me not even want to look at Euro Aussie. This is 5 weeks of just sideways. This looks freaking terrible to me. This is telling me that you're putting a week against a week, and it's just one week one wins, the other week the other one does, and it's just, this looks freaking terrible to me. I honestly don't even want to look at the intraday or the daily on this. It looks so terrible. So Euro Aussie, no thank you. So now we have a daily tweezer top here. we still have bullish momentum unless this is a confirmed lower high. This is a pretty good level, but man, this has just been chopping on the weekly. Let's look at the 4-hour. This looks this looks like the identical price action that you took your Aussie dollar short on, Dimitri. These like quad tweezer tops just showing the inability to move any higher. I'm not really a fan of this trend line. It doesn't really work for me. It's too. Let's just take this out. Let's look at the 1-hour chart. So the 1-hour chart looks like it's finally breaking down. Let's see if we can get some sort of structure here. So that looks okay. So the daily actually looks pretty decent. This looks like a pretty darn good signal here. This nice tweezer top, head and shoulder pattern. It is slightly bullish still. It's still a higher low, but this could be the lower high, and I'm pretty sure it's the at least 50% retracement. 618. So this is actually looking pretty good for a short. So 4-hour chart, you could even attack this as just an APL move. You could just put your entry right there, stop a little bit above, target 2. Wow, that's huge. Yeah. It works out. I like the level. It works out. If you want to be super conservative and take one position, if you want to take one position next week, I think this would be pretty solid, in my opinion. This looks pretty good. I like Euro Aussie. Even though the weekly looks like absolute garbage, the daily looks pretty good. I love the daily deceleration. I love the 4-hour deceleration. We don't have any confirmation yet. This is just the potential lower high, but this is pretty good deceleration right here. Definitely something to keep an eye on for market open. Good point, Dimitri. If we're alternating here, up, down, up, down, up, down, hopefully, that's a good point. So we'll see what happens. The daily looks pretty decent. I don't know. I think it looks cool. I like it. Let's see what happens next week. All right, so let's take a look at EuroCAD. EuroCAD tanked out. So EuroCAD came back up. It retested the weekly and this key level here and just completely collapsed. I was afraid this was a potential higher high relative to this, and we were going to start a weekly trend change. I don't see that happening just with the amount of bearish momentum that's coming in. We have a confirmed lower high here now. We don't have the lower low yet, but this is some pretty heavy momentum, and it's closed below the daily, which is a pretty good sign that the momentum will continue. Let's do the 4-hour here. So the 4-hour presented, yeah. This is why I like these. I like more. These ones, trying to hide your stop behind this is just risky. It just seems too tight for my comfort. This would have been a good one. I think Dimitri pointed this one out like 8 hours after this one happened. I think it was right around this point where the break had already occurred. But this would have been a solid APL move also. like what's going on. This looks like maybe a potential double bottom. This could just be profit taking here. We'll see what happens. I do like the confirmed lower high though. I see this pair continuing down further. I like the potential. Maybe we'll get another APL move, a nice little false break, and take it down even further. So I like EuroCAD for the weekly. This could be an inverted hammer, but once you go down to those other time frames, this is just bearish. This is completely bearish. I do not see any signs of price reversing at this point. This isn't valid for me yet, just because that's where price ended for the week. So we'll see what happens next week. But I like it. Let's take a look at Euro Pound. Euro Pound. This one has just been a pain in the butt. Sometimes it looks good, sometimes it looks like crap, sometimes it looks good, sometimes it looks like crap. This is just definitely not one of my favorite pairs to trade. So we ended with that nice bearish engulfing, and now we have this bullish inside bar. Weekly doesn't say too much. Daily chart sitting at the trend line, and then we got that nice break back, and this really didn't lead to any downside momentum. I don't know what's going on. It seems like the pound pairs power up, and then as soon as they power up, Euro powers up, and it's like this this battle between the two that has just been not fun. I'm not a fan of this pair at all. At this point, break below this level here, and I will be interested. I don't even want to look for long positions on this pair. Unless we get like a really significant break. We do have this potential triangle here. But unless we get some substantial higher high, breaking at least both of these levels, I'm not going to be interested in looking for long positions. I would like a break below this level to look for shorts, but at this point, I'm not really interested in Euro Pound. Let's take a look at Euro Yen. So Euro Yen, that's a confirmed lower high now, and now we have a lower low on the weekly chart. So this looks like a reasonable conservative profit target for next week, 116. We do have the beginnings of deceleration. It's still kind of grinding down there. It looks like it's trying to pull back, but it's not really giving much. So after this lower high was confirmed, let's take a look. So after we got this bullish candle, we got this inside bar, high test doji type candle, and then the bearish breakdown. So at this point, it looks like this was the inside bar. Somewhere around here was the inside bar doji, but then we got the bearish breakdown, and this first 4-hour pullback could have been a nice APL move. That would have worked out pretty well. I'm just trying to get myself trained to look for these positions. But as far as all the other yen pairs, this one doesn't look to be pulling back at all. The daily looks pretty grindy to the downside, but I still see it falling. I do not see any signs of this stopping. So we'll have to see what the intraday provides. Maybe we'll get a double top, false break, and we can take that down to the downside. This has been a pretty extensive move. So it could definitely pull back at some point to at least form another lower high. But it's not looking like it's going to. I don't see too much deceleration. This is still trending down pretty heavily. And it looks like a bunch of short orders were put in right before market close. Something to keep on the watch. I can see this falling another 100, 120 pips before price does reverse or potentially retrace. Let's have a look at Euro Kiwi. Go ahead, Scott. What you got? So if we reject the FAR 50, then this would be good enough for the 100 pip stop targeting 116. Let's go back here. Potentially, yeah. I could see that. The problem with this is just how overextended this run is. But with it being that bearish and this being the next real key level here, I could definitely see this running down to that before it starts to pull back at all. I don't think you would even need a 100 pip stop. I mean, I think you could actually get, again, you would have to assume that you're going to get like a double top here. But I think you could do something pretty tight actually. It'd be nice if you could get a false break and just use the candle to give you your stop. We'll have to see what happens. We'll have to see if yen gets really weak to start the week. Let's go Euro Kiwi. Euro Kiwi. So Euro Kiwi didn't have much momentum after this nice deceleration at the weekly EMA. Price has just chopped sideways for the past 4 weeks now. And we finally got that bearish break and 0 to no momentum following it. Let's look at the daily chart. This one isn't showing too much on the intraday. I'm not a fan of where price is sitting at on this pair. I was expecting more momentum to the downside once we got this bearish engulfing. I thought that was going to be the catalyst to move this further down, but we didn't seem to get much momentum at all. And this is the week against the week. If Euro's weak and you're playing Kiwi, which is also weak, that's why you're getting this sideways, ranging, choppy price action. So I'm not a fan of this pair at all. For next week, it's still kind of stuck in no man's land, in my opinion. So no thank you on this one. Let's take a look at Euro Dollar. Euro Dollar looks pretty good. That's pretty good confirmation. Nice weekly bearish engulfing, which led to another another very nice bearish weekly candle. knowing where this is going to bounce or could potentially bounce, I was surprised we got this breakdown here, just because this like 5-2 level seems to be holding pretty good for quite some time. So this false break here was kind of shocked me. So I don't know if we'll come down and stall out again here, or if this is truly the end of the euro and we're going to come down and start making new lows to parity. I was pretty convinced last week that this candle with it closing like this was going to lead to some real downside, and I had actually entered a position earlier last week that ended up getting taken out at break even, just because I saw this choppiness start happening, and I didn't want to be in the market with the choppiness. This is just showing me that there's too much indecision and no one really knows what's going on. And it looks like everybody was waiting for the news today for positions to be entered. But this looks good. This looks like there's a lot of downwards momentum. Will we get a pullback before we hit these lows here? Nah, I doubt it. I doubt it. And if we do, it might just be a real shallow pullback to maybe the 1 hour. Maybe we'll get a pullback to these lows here. We can put a little level in here. Maybe we'll get a pullback to this before price continues down here. From the way it's looking, it looks like it's just going to fall, but we'll see. This does look bearish. The only thing that bothers me is this level here. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if we're just finally going to completely collapse through it, or if we're going to get a bounce here. We'll have to wait and see. This has a lot of momentum though. This does look good. We're still very, very bearish. So I'll keep it on the weekly watch just to monitor to see what happens. We could get a little pullback and maybe get a bearish engulfing that just completely smashes through this, and will give us more indication to take it short and that these levels aren't being respected. So we'll have to wait and see on this one. It does have a lot of potential, in my opinion. So let's look at pound Aussie. Actually, before we get into these pound pairs, let's take like a 5-6 minute break real quick. So Matt, are you are you around? Yep. Cool. So I don't know if you were on during this or if you came right after, but I was talking about the APL moves and the 4 hour false breaks, and it looks like I haven't tested the U.S. dollar pairs really at all, with the exception of dollar yen a little bit. But it looked like the dollar pairs don't really like to present with the false breaks. It seems like they kind of avoid the 4 hour pretty well, and it looked like it could be a good one for your 20 EMA that you were talking about. So I'd be curious to see how the 20 EMA would react on the dollar pairs, and maybe that would give a better setup for those specific pairs. I thought that was pretty cool. Something to definitely back test and see how it works out. Yeah, especially when we were looking at Aussie dollar. Just in the past, when market is trending, it seems to not really give you too many. This would have been one out of this entire move, but it seems like it doesn't really like to. And even here, it didn't even give you the false break. We could have taken it as a break and retest, which is still a good strategy. But it seems like same thing with dollar yen. When dollar yen is really trending, like it was back here, it just didn't really give much of anything. So maybe if you had the tighter 20, you could take advantage of like these three moves. These would have been awesome scale ins that could have really gone on to make some, and another scale in here. So the 20 might be really good for the dollar pairs. The hourly kind of sketches me out just because it doesn't seem as reliable. I guess when the market is truly trending and there is a ton of momentum, I could definitely see it. Let's look back when the market was really trending to the upside. Even then, the entries are kind of few and far between, and this would have kind of sketched me out. Yeah, so that'll be something to definitely look into and see if we can manipulate something to give us a nice, accurate the 49. Let's do the 49. Um, Dimitri, scaling in is a little difficult for us, and there's something to definitely be kept in mind. With us being in the US and having all these darn regulations, once you scale in, so let's say you took a short position here. Say you took a short position, APL move on this, and you said you wanted to target these. And price starts going, and say for some reason you wanted to get in right here, and you saw this maybe on the 1 hour chart. This is a really nice pullback, so you wanted to go short here, so you enter a second position here, but you want to only take it to this next support level, which is definitely valid. You see the bearish momentum, you want to take it just to this next key level, but you want to keep your initial position open. Because we're in the US, we have the first in, first out policy, which means once you take this first trade, any additional trades you take, once it closes, it's closing your initial position every single time. And that's some sort of federal regulation that we have in the US. And it's kind of a pain in the butt, because if you were to take this and potentially hold it, and then you see price start pulling back, and you wanted to get out at break even, unfortunately, it would tag out this initial position. So whatever profit you would be at So let's say you were right there, or actually let's do it right here. So break even. So you would get tagged out of this initial position for whatever profit this was, 2%, but then your initial position here would still be kept open and it would be going into the negative now. It's a real pain in the ass. So if you are going to scale in, definitely make sure the market is definitely trending. So if these dollar pairs start really taking off, like if dollar yen starts really taking off, and you take an initial position, and then you take a second position, just keep in mind that if for some reason that you have to close down the second position or it comes back and triggers, it's going to take out the first position also, unfortunately. No, you can have multiple positions. I've had 3 euro pound positions open at the same time, but as soon as you close any of them, it's going to take out the first position no matter what. The one with the best stop, which is very frustrating. Because you could have this great position up here where you got in and price just starts tanking away, and then you get in like down here and price starts pulling back, and you're going to have to close out this position to get rid of this one. Even if you took profit down here, it would still close out the initial position, because any position you close out after the first position is open, the first position gets closed. It sucks. It's very, very confusing. Yeah, so just definitely keep that in mind. If you are going to scale in, if something happens, your first position is getting taken out. Yeah, for sure. It's something I learned the hard way. It's like, why did my position get closed out? All right, so pound Aussie, we have our triple bottom, double bottom, whatever you want to call it, and our bullish momentum is still there. It's not as powerful as I would like it to be. It's kind of doing like a slow grind type of thing. The daily chart. So this position here is actually just an APL move, just to display another APL move. But it looks like price is finally going to give a. This was a nice lower high or higher low. I think we're going to get another pullback, probably to this area, right around here. So we'll have our higher high, higher low, double topish, higher high, whatever. And I'm expecting a pullback to this level. We could just completely tank out, and the pound pairs could just be messing with us again. But I'll be looking for a deceleration around this level. Maybe we'll get an APL move, a nice false breakout, and see the 1 hour chart start powering up, and we can take advantage of it. But for the week ahead, it looks pretty bearish, at least for the first couple of days. This is a pretty significant top here. Nice double top, 1 hour double top. Let's look at this level here. So this is a pretty decent level. We've had some rejections here in the past. So I could definitely see this continuing to trend down, giving us another higher low somewhere. Maybe somewhere in this vicinity, somewhere right here. So I'd be on the lookout for, I'm going to put it on the watch for shorts. Short-term shorts. Unless we start getting a ton of momentum and this thing just starts tanking away. But I could see a nice potential short. Maybe we'll get a pullback and we can take it down to the 4 hour, and then maybe we can see a nice 4 hour false break here and see it power back up and continue. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But I'm definitely bearish on the short term. Pound Swiss. I'm assuming Pound Swiss looks just as crappy as Euro Pound. So we're still stuck in this asymmetrical triangle. We finally broke above and we retested and had no momentum to continue higher, and now it looks like we're breaking down. And this could fall out the bottom. Who freaking knows at this point? This is not something I'm interested in at this point. This is just range bound. It's not really doing anything for me. Let's take a look at pound yen. So after all this deceleration, it looks like we're finally going to break out. This looked like a nice descending triangle here. It looks like we might finally get a confirmed break to the downside. This is still, I'd like to see a little more, because this is just like a slow grind here, and this is just more inside bar deceleration, choppiness, not really too much. But it looks like the day ended bearish. Maybe we'll get some bearish continuation. At this point, I'm not too sure. I see the potential because pound is looking pretty bearish, at least for the next couple of days. This could have been entered as an APL move if you were convinced of the bearish momentum. I wasn't convinced of the bearish momentum yet. This is still just a grinding nothingness to me. But if you were convinced this was just a false break, that would have been a nice APL move. At this point, I'm not too convinced of where this is going. We can put it on the weekly watch just to see if we get like a huge bearish engulfing. That would give me enough signal that we are going to continue short on this. But it's just been such a slow grind. It's just, when this pair trends, it trends really nice, and it's not trending at all. It's looking awful. Let's look at pound kiwi. Pound kiwi. So pound kiwi looks like it's finally going to pull back and give us the first higher low on the weekly chart, hopefully. We do have this double bottom. We had this nice trending bullish market. There isn't a ton of volume here, but it is trending to the upside. We're now sitting at the key level here, and we're still kind of riding this trend line here. I could see this fall and us getting a higher low, which would be a really nice value area to take this long. Because the higher time frames still look really good for a long position, at least to target the weekly. So now we have a nice double top. This is technically, I would have liked the body to close down here to really signal lower low here, but we have a double top. So any sort of break below this will give us the first lower low, and any subsequent lower high would be a nice short-term shorting opportunity. This is a nice break and retest here. So I could see some short potential on this in the short term. This maybe we'll get a break and retest of this level here, and that will give us a nice shorting opportunity. 4 hours right there too. So I like it for a quick short and potential long. Let's take a look at pound dollar. So if pound's looking pretty weak and dollar's looking pretty strong, pound dollar might be a pretty good short position. That's a nice bearish engulfing right there. This weekly triple bottom didn't do too much. We didn't form a higher high. This little trend line here is holding pretty strong, and now we're back below the daily 50. So I'm pretty convinced that we're either going to form a quad bottom or maybe we're going to go even further to the downside. This is good momentum though. I do not see the potential of a higher low developing with this sort of momentum and this break below. I think we would have got lift off at this break and retest. This low test here should have kicked off some momentum here, but it failed. So I'm pretty bearish on this. So 4 hour chart, I say any sort of pullback on this, any sort of pullback to value, and short this all the way down to 122. I think that's a pretty solid play, playing the weak against the strong. I think this has a ton of potential for next week. Let's take a look at pound CAD. Pound CAD's probably going to be retracing pretty hard. So this actually looks pretty good for a shorting opportunity. We still have those monthly tweezers that really aren't doing much of anything. And now this looks like it's going to continue to the downside, at least for a little bit. Maybe come down to test these levels here. Let's look at the daily. So daily double top. This is technically a lower high, double top, whatever you want to call it. And now we're breaking back down. We're still technically above the daily EMA here, but it's not looking too promising. 4 hour chart. So after this lower high, we're still waiting for a lower low. Once we hit that lower low, any sort of pullback, and I'd be perfectly fine taking a short position, at least down to the, let's draw a nice level in here somewhere. At least down to here, potentially all the way down here. We'll see where the momentum ends. But this is looking pretty bearish. Again, CAD's looking potentially pretty strong. And the pound is looking weak, so this could be a nice potential short. This is really nice momentum here. You would be trading technically into the daily 50, which is kind of a turn off. We'll see what happens. We'll see if we get a nice strong break below this. Pound is looking pretty weak. So we'll see. Maybe we'll get it. Maybe Sunday will open and we'll get a nice close below the daily 50 and potentially a pullback, and maybe we can take that short. I would put it on for short entries. I don't have anything to really give me a bullish bias at this point. This looks like a nice rejection. And it looks like the bearish momentum is going to start kicking in. Let's take a look at Kiwi Yen. Kiwi Yen, the pair that never pulls back. So at this point, let's draw our fib in here. I honestly see this retesting at least the previous lows. I see this continuing down for quite some time. at this point, it's so overextended. I can't even begin to know how to position myself on this. This has just been insane. I would really love to see some sort of pullback to value, something. This is just craziness. But we are at least getting some deceleration. We saw what happened last time we got deceleration on the daily chart. It was met with bearish momentum. So I won't hold my breath for a pullback on this. Yeah, I don't see anything on this to add it to the weekly watch. It's an APL on this chart. Price would have to pull back. Price would have to pull back something like this. And then get in as soon as it breaks to the downside. Oh, sorry. I thought I was on the 4 hour. This is the daily. Nice catch. So actually, if you would have used the APL strategy, I mean, I would say after this level is broken, that's when I would start looking for, well, I guess after you get the double top and then price breaks down, that could have potentially been an APL move that would have lost. But then this next one would have been a pretty good one to get in on, especially with the monthly trend change that's going on. You could have just taken this and held it. And then every subsequent one would have just banked you a ton. I mean, you can just start this one too. That one technically wouldn't have been one. This would have been one. This one technically has two bodies above it, so this would have been one. But you could have caught multiple of these, and these would have been huge positions every time. I mean, this was 6%, this was 14% because the stop was so tight. You could have just made a killing on this, an absolute killing. But this is one of the ones that have the higher time frame. I mean, we caught the higher time frame, the monthly trend change on this. This is the first lower high on the monthly chart. So this could have been an absolute monster of a month for every single one if we would have had this APL strategy in place. So yeah, at this point we're gonna have to see. I don't even know what to do. The biggest risk reward I've had so far. I had my single biggest risk reward was probably an 8%. It was right around like 7.88% was a single position dollar yen that I took a long time ago, back when dollar yen was super bullish. But I did have a euro pound. My euro pound trade where I had three different scale-ins was my best trade that I've ever had, and that was 12%. And I just caught every single 1 hour H150 pullback. I caught every single one of them on that one until it finally closed out in profit. But I haven't been able to replicate that since. that was that was that was that was luck, to be honest. I wasn't anywhere as knowledgeable as I am now, so that was definitely a luck play. There was no skill in that. I mean, very little skill, I should say, because they were all good 1 hour 50 pullbacks, but I honestly didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have the higher time frame momentum on my side or anything like that. So yeah, that was lucky. On this one, I don't know what to do at this point. I mean, even if you get, do you want to take a potential APL move on this pair after it's this overextended? I honestly don't know. I'd rather just put this on the sidelines. I'd rather put this on the sidelines and look at pound dollar or Aussie dollar or I'm sure there's some better pairs out here. This one's just so overextended. Hopefully we'll get some sort of bullish move. Maybe we can get a bullish move up to here. Wishful thinking, but at this point, there's just not enough for me on this one. It's too overextended. Kiwi Swiss. Kiwi Swiss is interesting. This is another weak versus weak pair. We could do something like that. So the weekly did have a nice breakdown, and price has been stalling for the last 3 weeks, and it looks like this week closed with another inside bar. So this is very, very consolidating. This is kind of this was a nice break and retest, and it was a double top that led to this little move and immediately rejected. So something's going on. There should have been more sellers if this was really going to fall, but something's going on. So I'm not really a fan of this pair. It looks like we are getting some sort of deceleration. I'd rather just blue box this whole area and see what happens when we get a breakout. But at this point, we're not going anywhere. So no thank you, Kiwi Swiss. Let's take a look at Kiwi CAD. Kiwi CAD has a pretty, right, blue box it. Don't even want to look at it. So Kiwi CAD's had this nice lower low, finally, weekly lower low, weekly lower high. The price action is pretty disgusting on the weekly chart. It's just a bunch of wicks. But this is technically a trend change. This is technically your lower low right here. This is your lower high. So we have the makings of a weekly trend change here. Yuck, I'm not really a fan of any of those trend lines. And we did finally get a break and close below the weekly EMA, and this would have technically all been blue box territory here. So now we're breaking below it, so that's a good sign. So let's look at the 4-hour chart and see what we got here. So any nice break below we get, I would like to see a pullback and potential short on this. I can see the shorting potential on this. The weekly's pretty consolidating though. I mean, this isn't too nice. But I do like this bearish. I like the way that the day ended, and CAD is looking like it is getting strong. So this could push Kiwi CAD even further to the downside. But I need to see some nice confirmation out of this blue box. Yes, exactly. It is a messy ass head and shoulder patterns, but it's definitely a head and shoulder pattern. I mean, this is definitely a good level here, and this is definitely a nice little triple top at that level. So I totally see it too. Nice head and shoulder pattern. It's just, I shouldn't say nice head and shoulder, messy as fuck head and shoulder pattern. But hopefully with this breakdown, and this could be something. I'm gonna put it on the weekly watch just to see what happens the first couple of days. See if we get a nice breakdown. Maybe we can catch an APL move on this. Maybe this will finally start moving. Maybe oil will just really start powering up. It'll give CAD a bunch of strength, and we could potentially turn this into a Kiwi yen and not miss the opportunities and just keep taking scale ins all the way down to the next key level at 87. That'd be pretty awesome. So this one's definitely something to keep an eye on as soon as we get some nice confirmation. Let's have a look at Kiwi dollar. This pair I haven't liked to look at for quite some time, but I'm hoping with the news we got a nice So the weekly chart ended with this nice rejection of the weekly 50, nice retest, and now we got this nice bearish engulfing to end the day. I would say retesting the lows at 68.5 is almost a given. Getting in on this pair before it hits there could potentially be difficult. So I'd only want to take this short to this level and then see what happens. And if we get a nice break below this level, then continued shorts would be perfectly fine. But at this point, just because these between Aussie Kiwi and Aussie dollar and Kiwi dollar, these pairs like to range, and I don't want to play the ranging game once price gets down to this level and watch price shoot back up again. So I'd be conservative and see what happens around this level. If we get a nice break below this level here, then I'd be pretty convinced that we're going to target these lows down here. But until then, just a quick in and out for me. If price does pull back, it might not, but if it does pull back, maybe we'll get a nice, what is that, 40 pips or something, maybe a quick 1-to-1 or something. Potential. I'll put it on and see what happens. Dollar CAD, strong versus strong. Who will be the strongest? So let's look at the weekly here. The weekly's kind of been doing the same as the others. It's kind of just been, the last couple of weeks have just been chopping sideways. This is also the daily 50 EMA right here. So we'll see. I'm expecting some further upside, at least to retest the key level here. It might form a quad top. It might just completely explode to the upside. It's hard to say, but the daily ended is a nice low test candle, and the 4-hour chart gave a nice false break APL move. I didn't take this. I just plugged it in so I could get data on it. But I liked it. It fit the strategy. We did break out of the blue box. We got the higher high. We got the higher low. And now we have the false break with nice momentum. The 1-hour chart had some really good momentum. Start stepping in. And I think this would have really continued to the upside had the market not closed and everybody taken profit. But I like this. I think this has some pretty good potential. I wouldn't want to take any additional longs until this level is broken. But we'll have to see what happens once we get. If we get a nice break above here, then this could be something to definitely keep in mind. I think we still have plenty of room. So we're sitting right now at the 50%. If this does break to the upside, at least targeting the 618 retracement, I think would be a reasonable level for profits. So this one isn't really on the weekly watch. I'll keep monitoring it when I do my daily watch list, but I don't see too much potential on this yet. I like that it did form this double bottom, and we have this really strong rejection now, and it looks really good. But at the same time, this is still a triple top, and this is still a lower low. So we'll see what happens. I want to see more confirmation before I really commit to anything on this. Let's look at dollar Swiss. So dollar Swiss I haven't looked at since we got those failed tweezers. I'm curious. I know Dimitri had posted a picture that we got a nice bullish candle to follow that. So this has a nice false breakout. This is a nice double bottom, rejecting the weekly level. And it looks like this is just going to continue up the double top here. Didn't seem like it was enough to really push this down much further. This seems to be a significant mover. I think any sort of pullbacks on this should be taken as potential longs. So 4 hour, this one might not even give an APL move. So this one I'll put on the watch list just because it seems like it has a ton of bullish momentum on all the higher time frames. Will will the intraday offer up any positions? Who knows? But it's definitely something to keep on and monitor. Maybe we might get a nice bearish breakdown here, just enough to break the 4 hour. It's hard to tell at this point, but there's definitely some bullish momentum here. This is a nice bullish move up. Let's take a look at dollar yen. Dollar yen, we were anticipating weekly tweezers. They look pretty good. How does it look on IDC? IDC, we got tweezers too. Okay. So we've got some weekly tweezers. This level's pretty decent. There's definitely been some deceleration in the past. Nice rejection there. Somewhat of a rejection there. So I think it's still a shallow retrace. Let's just do it from here. This is a pretty bullish move, and the more shallow the retrace, the more bullish potential there is, or the more trend continuation there is likely. So this does coincide with such a bullish move, a nice shallow retrace like this that doesn't even make it back to the 50%. Daily chart. Daily chart looks pretty decent. We have a double bottom here. We don't have any sort of higher high though to really signify that we're going to give us confirmation of a bullish move. But this does look pretty decent. I mean, this is definite deceleration, definite double bottom. This could be a potential low test candle. At this point, it's just a big giant doji. 4 hour chart. So this is still my position this is my initial position I took yesterday morning that got stopped out. I liked the break and retest. I took it right after this low test on the 1 hour here. And it looked like it was going really good, and then this bearish candle came in and stopped me out. But this looks to be a nice break. Now we finally have a higher high relative to the last high. This is a 4 hour break. This could just be profit taking before the week, or this could come slamming back down with the way the yen is. It's kind of hard to tell at this point. But I think any higher highs we get relative to this would be a good signal that we are going to start trending to the upside on this. And I could definitely see price going up to at least test the daily level here. If we start getting some bullish momentum really start picking up, we could just blow right through this daily level. So if a long opportunity does present itself on this, I'm not going to put a hard target here at the daily, just because this does have the potential to be a nice weekly pullback with weekly tweezers, and it could have a ton of potential. This could come up to test these recent highs. So I wouldn't want to limit this to the daily, but we need a little more on this. If we close bullish on the daily chart, would this look like an APL? No, it wouldn't be an APL until we get a nice break back above and then a break below the 4 hour. Once we get a break below the 4 hour, then we can have a nice APL move. I wouldn't want to commit to an APL position. Like say the market opens and we get a nice like breakdown here, and then price breaks above. I wouldn't be too convinced at that point. That's not enough. I really need to see the higher high, just because I learned my lesson from trying to get in early on this other position. Let's wait for trend confirmation here, and then take it. I don't want to see anybody get burned, and I sure as heck don't want to get burned myself. But I definitely like dollar yen for the weekly. It looks like it has some pretty good potential once we get some intraday confirmation. I can't trade gold, but let's go ahead and take a look at gold. So gold is interesting. I guess this pretty much this high test here it's a weekly high test. Weekly high test at the 50%, 618 retracement. That's pretty interesting because this coincides with dollar strength and risk on environment. Let's take a look at the daily and see what the daily looks like. So daily has a nice high test candle. This is like a triple top now, or it's definitely a double top with like a little intraday triple top. So this was the move you were talking about, Matt, where you said gold had moved up $19 or something like that, but then it got immediately reversed. That's interesting. I would like a little more confirmation on this, but this is too big of a stop in my opinion. But you can take this as put like an entry here, put an entry here, stop above there, take it as like an APL. We don't have enough confirmation yet, but that's definitely something that could happen. This is interesting, definitely interesting. This looks like a false break to me. This looks like it's going to start collapsing. Risk on and risk off. I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm very fluent with the terms, but from how I understand it is when you have a risk on environment, meaning people are more willing to take risk. So the dollar, whenever the dollar powers up, it's usually a risk on. That means it's a risk on environment, meaning that people are not doing the safe plays anymore. So investing in the yen and using that as a safe haven, or investing in gold and using that as a safe haven, those are both risk off environments where people want to play it safe. They know that gold isn't going to go anywhere, so they're going to put their money in gold, or they know that the yen works as a safe haven, so they're going to put their money in the yen. And that's what's been going on, especially with Trump getting elected. That it scares people. People are like, what the hell is going on? What's this guy going to do? And when that happens, you can just see the yen has just been powering up because the yen is acting as a safe haven. So whenever we change to risk on, which is when the US dollar starts to power up and people are willing to take more riskier plays, then the opposite happens. Gold starts to reverse and the yen starts to reverse. Usually the commodity pairs start to reverse. Usually Aussie gets pretty weak, Kiwi gets pretty weak. CAD's kind of an independent commodity pair just because it's so heavily linked to oil, because their main economy is oil. But that's about the extent of my knowledge on risk on and risk off. It just seems to correlate really well that when US dollar powers up, the yen and gold get pretty weak just because people are more willing to take the riskier stuff. And I guess the US dollar is considered somewhat risky when compared to gold or the safe haven yen. I'm sure someone has some better knowledge on that in the community that can give you better insight than I can. But that's about the extent of my knowledge on that. So that's all I've got on my list. Is there anything else you guys want to go over? Any other pairs? All right. Well, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Let's. If anybody sees APL moves throughout next week or has any questions about potential APL moves, please post them in the community. Let's start really making ourselves familiar with this and see if we can start taking advantage of it. Good, Dimitri. It'd be cool, especially like KiwiCAD. If KiwiCAD starts doing its weekly trend change, that'd be really cool to maybe capture 2 or 3 positions on that. Applied Physics Lab. I think I know exactly what you're talking about, Matt, and I completely agree with you. It seems like you see it very often. Um, let's look at it. Which one did I do? I think I did Aussie CAD. Um, it's at like 3. It's almost like a 3-bar play, right? Yeah, 3 candle setup. Um, mm, I know exactly what you're talking about. I was hoping I could find. It's just a candlestick pattern. It's like it's big. It's kind of like this in that it's a bullish move followed by an inside bar doji type candle followed by a bearish break. So actually, this is kind of like an evening star right here, or morning star, whatever they're called. It's these 3 candles right here. You get the bullish move, the inside bar doji, followed by the reversal. Ah, thank you, Ben. Yeah, those combined with APLs would be fantastic. Absolutely agree. As long as the third candle closes at least 50% into the first candle. Got it, got it. Very nice, very nice. I love it. Keep adding little confluence to it. All right, everybody have a good weekend. Do something fun, do something relaxing, and we'll come back and hit this hard next week. I act like I'm not going to talk to you guys. I'll talk to you guys in a couple minutes on chat probably. But you guys enjoy yourselves. I'll talk to you guys later.